I want to go up. I want to be Vancouver Giants.
I'm a Giant.
Giants coverage lives here with Giancarlo Nadeau. This is your Giants coverage podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the final episode of the Giants coverage podcast. The final episode for the summer, that is. We'll be back in September. We'll be back bigger and stronger. But speaking about big and speaking about strong, we're speaking with a guy who is both of those and was both of those with the Vancouver Giants. He only played a year with the team, but let me tell you, he's always been a fan favorite of mine and a fan favorite for many Giants fans, and I'm sure many of you listening in as well. He was with the Giants the year they made it all the way to the Western Hockey League Finals against the Prince Albert Raiders, wearing jersey number 23. Jadon Joseph is my guest. Jadon, thanks so much for doing this. How are you doing?
Thank you very much for having me on here. Hello, Giants fans. Hope everybody's doing well. And yeah, it's an honor for me to be on here. I'm happy to be able to, just talk about everything and answer all the questions you have for me.
Well, it means a lot to me, Jadon. 253 games in the Western Hockey League. Regular season, that is. 58 in the playoffs. You look at your time with the Giants, 32 games with the G-Men, 22 playoff games. I mean, that was quite the run that you guys made it on, that you guys were experiencing with the Vancouver Giants. 6 different teams for you, though, so we're going to try and talk about that. But, I mean, the fact that you're taking the time to talk to one of those teams means a lot to me. I want to get to the very beginning for you, though. What do you remember about your WHL draft day?
Yeah, I think it was an interesting day. Obviously, you're very young. I believe you. It's been so long. I think you're 14 years old, maybe 15. I just remember being at school with a couple of my buddies that were all supposed to get drafted. We ended up I guess I was selected by the Lethbridge Hurricanes. And no shade at them, but at the time they were like one of the worst teams in the WHL, I think maybe in history. Like it was not okay. It was just not a good situation at the time. And my best friend to this day, Coltrane Wilson, he got drafted as well, and we went to school together. And I just remember he came up to me like so happy, being like, "Jadon, like we got drafted together, we did it." And then I remember I was just like this little boy, and I'm crying, so upset that I got drafted to the Lethbridge just because the situation they were in. But besides that, I played in Lethbridge when I was 17 up till 19. Honestly, it was probably some of the greatest years of my life to this day. Like just the brotherhood that I was able to create there, and just the friends and the family that I was able to make there. And then obviously just my first year, we were able to go to the conference finals, second year conference finals. And then the third year, just you're there your whole kind of career, you think at the time. And yeah, I created a lot of long lasting friendships there with the organization itself, GM Pete, Coach Kissio, and then all the teammates that I was able to play with. So it was quite the experience. My first 2.5 years, I guess you could say.
Well, quite the experience indeed, and quite the Cinderella run for you guys, Jadon. Your first year making it all the way up top. Certainly lots of fun, and I'm sure your first game with the Lethbridge was a lot of fun too. What do you remember about that first night?
I think my first game, well, luckily, just with the rival we have with Medicine Hat being one of the biggest in junior hockey at the time, for sure. There was the first 2 games, and my billets at the time made a funny joke. I didn't finish either game because I got kicked out of both games at the very end for whether it was fighting or roughing or whatever it was. But honestly, it's kind of a blur. I think I remember the one time I got absolutely laid out in the center of the ice, just being young, you're not expecting men to hate you. I just absolutely got put on my butt, and then that kind of woke me up for the league. I just remember just being so thankful, and I'm thanking God that day just for putting me in that situation. It's so surreal being able to finally walk into a rink like that atmosphere with the bright lights, with almost 6,000 people coming to watch you, and everybody cheering. And you go from playing in front of your parents and a few friends, maybe 12 people in the arena, to playing with 6,000 people. So it was, I'm forever grateful for that moment. It was really cool. But I guess it's a little joke that I guess I never really finished my first or second game in the WHL.
Well, I'd imagine it was quite the experience for you. And you know what? The fact that you were kicked out of that first and second game makes it even more memorable for you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Especially against Medicine Hat too. I still can't stand them, but
Well, Jadon, Medicine Hat Man, I mean, you played for the Giants too. There's a good chance you didn't like them when you were with Vancouver, considering our history against them in the Memorial Cup and then in the finals. So I think you were a perfect fit for the Giants since day one.
no, exactly. I guess you could say that for sure.
I want to talk to you about, you know, what it was like for you to find out that you were traded to the G-Men, because you mentioned earlier that you thought you were going to stay in that home for, you know, for the rest of your career, that home being where you first started playing hockey in the Western Hockey League, but you ultimately do make a move. You find
Mhm.
out eventually later on that you're going to go to the Giants. What was that like?
Yeah, it was actually a pretty hard time in my life at that period. Just being so young, um, in Lethbridge, we went through a lot as an organization. We were very close. My one of my best friends at the time, Ryan Vanderlist, Jordy Bellerive, and then Matt Alfaro, they went through that unfortunate, tragic incident that happened that they almost lost their lives. So I just created such a bond with that place and with them and the people there that I never, yeah, like you said, I never thought I was going to get traded. And even at the time, I went on my first 12 games or whatever it was, I went on a 12-game goal streak. I almost like, I don't know if I was getting close to the record or something, but I ended up, I started off very hot, obviously. Yeah, I didn't expect to get traded, but when you do very well, that definitely opens up the market to get moved. And then Lethbridge was going for it. So I ended up getting traded for Jake Decisions and Nick Henry. And then obviously a bunch of picks came with me, and as well Ty Cole. And then going there, it just wasn't a good situation. They were struggling a lot at the time. They weren't going to make playoffs. They were a very young team. Just sometimes you get traded to places and it just doesn't work out. That was one of the cases. I ended up before I left, I had a good talk with their GM, and he just kind of at the end of the day almost like apologized and just was unfortunate situation it was. And then when I got the call from um, Dicker, he I was very surprised. I was very happy just because how good the Giants were at the time. I knew I was going to be going back to playoffs, which I never missed playoffs. And I remember, so Mike actually cut me from Team Alberta, and we kind of had a joke. I just said I'll prove to him that he should have kept me or something. We kind of joked about that, so that was a good laugh. We had that on the phone, but yeah, I'll be forever grateful that I was able to get traded to Vancouver and essentially go to the finals and experience all that. Be able to play with some amazing players like Byram himself and just the people. Yeah, I was able to meet there. It was a very special year for me, I guess, or half a year, whatever you want to call it. So
Well, you are 19. It's November. It's a blockbuster trade that brings you to the Regina Pats. 13 games with them. That's it. And then you mentioned Dicker giving you the phone call, and the rest sort of being history for you as you begin your career with the Vancouver Giants. I wanted you to talk to me about that next 24 hours, though, because I know it was quite the whirlwind for you, Jadon, once you joined the Giants.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Like I said, so long ago, like things just kind of are a blur until I guess till you bring it up. But yeah, it was an insane day. I remember I got the phone call fairly early in the morning because I was sleeping and it rang. My phone rang. I woke up, and at the time when you're young and a GM calls you and you're in bed, they always ask you like, "What are you doing?" And then instead of being honest and saying you're in bed, you usually say, "Oh, I just finished a workout," or "Oh, like I've been up since like 6 in the morning or something." But yeah, I just remember getting the call. So they were playing Lethbridge, which was an insane thing because I hadn't played Lethbridge since I got traded, so I hadn't seen any of them. So we were going to be playing Lethbridge that day, so at 7, let's say. And then so I had 2 hours or hour and a half to fully get packed, and then get on my plane. My plane went to Calgary, and then that's where they were able to pick me up, and then we drove to sorry, Barkley was able to meet me at the airport. I remember I had no clue what he looked like or anything, so I was waiting at the airport, and then it was just a funny interaction I had with him. I'm in my street clothes. We flew to, like, I guess, drove to Lethbridge. We stopped for Subway very quick to get me some food. We had a quick chat and everything. It was a really good combo with him. And then I remember I walked into the rink with my bag and hockey stick. I had to go through all the fans that I knew before because they were waiting to watch the game, and we were pretty late. And I walked into the dressing room. Everybody's basically dressed to go out for warm ups. And I'm like I said, I'm in my street clothes. I say hey to everybody. Everybody's like saying welcome, whatever else, a little quick small talk. They go out to go on to warm ups. I got it dressed as fast as I could. I think I got on for like 5 minutes left for the warm up, just to like skate around, whatever else. And then I got off the ice, got called into the office, and basically he gave us the whole plan of the game, gave us how the team runs their plays in the O zone, the D zone, face off plays, just filled our heads. And then after that, I just jumped right into the game. I remember it was funny going onto the ice. You can see the opponent, so Lethbridge, and they're all yelling at me, kind of cracking jokes, whatever else. So it was a pretty cool. It was a lot of emotion that game for sure. I'm playing against my best friend Coltrane, at the time Ty Prefontaine. Playing against them and Bellerive and everybody else, Addison, and it was just, yeah, like I said, like I can't really explain it. I felt I had a great game. We ended up losing, unfortunately, but yeah, it was a pretty cool experience for sure. It was very an emotional game for sure.
Yeah, it was a tough loss for the Giants. It was a tight game though, but hey, after that, an 8-game heater for the Vancouver Giants. I want to ask you something about that though, Jadon. How easy was the adjustment for you to play for the Vancouver Giants? Was it an easy fit for you?
Yeah, it was. I was actually very shocked. I remember you're bringing back so many memories actually right now. I haven't thought about it in so long, but I just remember being on the bench because I played quite a bit, but there was just certain situations I just wasn't going to be playing in just because I was new. I didn't know all the full structure yet, and Dicker didn't want to kind of mess the flow up, especially playing against Lethbridge. They were pretty good at the time. But I just remember it was big going from Regina, where just a younger team, we just weren't very good, and then going from one of the, or I guess the best team besides PA in the league. And I just remember sitting back on the bench being like, holy smokes, like look at the passing was just on point, like the speed was just back to like what I was used to. And I was like, like you said, yeah, it was easier. The game just was a lot easier. It was fun again. I was finally getting my joy back for the game, and my passion back for sure. And yeah, I just remember kind of being in awe and just being so thankful, and just thanking God that I was back in that situation, just being able to be with a team like that. And like I said, we had a lot of amazing players on that team, so that definitely helped. But it was a pretty cool game just to be a part of, just because with the talent we had, I guess you could say.
Well, your first game, your first goal. Take me through your between the legs goal that you got against the Eds.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that was interesting. Don't know. I'm very surprised I did that. I've done it a few times, especially being younger. And I'm trying to recall, I believe I was on the penalty kill, and I believe I stripped the D man, if that's correct. And yeah, I was big on, I love the PK just because you're usually playing against five other lazy guys. And I don't know, just one less guy to pass through, I guess you could say. And I took the puck and I had that breakaway. And I guess last minute, I just thought in my head, I'm going to go between the legs. And I think God helped me on that one a little bit, and ended up, yeah, it went in, and that ended up being my first goal with the Giants. So it was pretty cool.
Well, you mentioned it was an easy fit for you and how special that team was, looking at the guys in the room and the guys that you played with. How long did it take for you to realize that team was special?
I was honestly the first game. Like I said, just I was a part of a lot of special teams, but like just obviously with Lethbridge being my first year with like Tyler Wong, Giorgio Esteban, Skinner, Bellery, Addison, the list kind of listed. I guess he was there after me, but just um, we had a lot of talent, and then my next year with Morrison, Elmer at the time, like we were just we had a lot of, and I guess as you say, Bellery and Ryan Vanderlist again, but I was able to be a part of a lot of good teams and a lot of good, or I guess 2 really good years. But yeah, just seeing that first game, I hadn't seen much like that before. Just the skill and just the how we played as a team and everything. Like I said, I just remember being on the bench and I was just like, wow, like this is going to be an unbelievable year kind of thing. Like I said, I was just kind of sat back in awe just because it was pretty cool just to be a part of. And like I said, we had a lot of good players, but we just worked very good as a team, and it obviously showed. So
Well, I'd imagine playing your first 2 years with Lethbridge, making it to the finals twice, and then jumping onto a team like Vancouver and noticing the talent that they had. You must have had the thought that, oh, this team's going to make it to the finals.
yeah, I think like you said, I think we went on. It was an 8 game win streak.
Yeah.
After I thought it was a little bit longer we went on, but if it was 8 games, um, yeah, you don't at the time you really don't realize um that like when you're winning that much, you kind of just are like you just kind of go through the game. You're like, oh yeah, like we won kind of thing. And especially with Dicker and Huey, they wouldn't let us be content at all. I just remember we would win one game and you just kind of knew it mattered to us, but at the same time, it was like the expectation that they had for us was so high that honestly, we were probably getting more in trouble than the teams that were losing, just because the expectations. If we didn't reach them, then we would hold everybody pretty accountable. So yeah, I think we knew like hockey's hockey, like it, especially when you get to playoffs, it really doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. Once you hit playoffs, like crazy things can happen, and sometimes the best teams do get knocked out, and sometimes they go all the way. And just the way we were built and how Dicker and Huey were able to form our team and coach us, and just how prepared we were for every game. We were so ready for the playoffs, and um, yeah, like you said, we were able to go to the finals, and I think we were able to see how good we were right away. It was at the end of the day, it was just being able to do the job at if you know what I'm saying. So
Well, it puts a smile on my face every time I think about this, and every time I bring it up. We're going to bring it up here. Arguably the biggest game of the regular season you are a part of, January 24th against the Prince Albert Raiders.
yeah.
It was a big game. Giants #2, Prince Albert #1 in the standings. That was televised as well. I know what that was like to experience as a fan, but what was it like as a player?
Well, I think for the team, I think it was very cool. Like just like you said, it was on TV. We were going up #1 and #2. And with our coaches, we just had very high expectations. We wanted to win the game. Um, and yeah, we just knew it was a huge game. We knew that was going to be the team we wanted to meet in the finals. We knew they were just two very big games just to set the tone for each other. And so as a team, we were very excited. We were very eager. For myself, I think Paul, he absolutely dummied me into the boards. Like it was, I remember I got the puck. It was right in front of the two benches. I got the puck. I turned. He stepped up on me and just absolutely laid me out. We're good buddies too, actually. So I think he bugged me about that after. But it was on the highlights on TV too. So all my family and friends were watching. They just watched me get absolutely creamed into the board. So that was awesome. But yeah, it was. Besides that, it was a really good game. It was like you said, it was the two best teams playing against each other in the regular season, and I believe we lived up to the expectations and the hype for it. It was a very strong battle. The ending was awesome. We were able to win the game too, which was fantastic. But like I said, it was just the speed and the style of the game it was really cool to be a part of, and like I said, yeah, it was awesome.
Well, I want to ask you this because I sort of talked about going to the finals already, but did you have any feelings that you might be seeing the Prince Albert Raiders again, that business wasn't done?
Yeah, like I said, when you get to playoffs, obviously, the expectations are that the top teams get to the finals. Now, like we said, it is hockey and it can go either way. Like sometimes a team that sneaks in can go to the finals or whatever else, or crazy things do happen. But the way both teams were built. I mean, PA speaks for itself. Just the talent that team had was remarkable, especially at the time. And just who they were, you kind of go through who they're going to match up against, and you can kind of see the path where that might lead to. Um, and at the same time, everybody has to do their job, and they definitely did theirs. And for us, just going through Seattle, Spokane, Victoria, and then just going through our route, it was not easy. I believe every round got us ready in a different way for the finals. Um, and a lot of people actually, I don't think, expected us to get through a few of those rounds. But like I said, I've never been a part of a team that was so prepared by their coaching staff and just so ready for a game and just knew the opponent inside and out that it really didn't matter if you were better or not, that we knew how to beat you in a sense. Um, and so yeah, it was, like I said, it was just really cool that we were able to both get to the finals, because that finals was absolutely insane, and it impacted, I'm sure, all of our lives. And I can't believe what it must have done for the fans as well, because like I said, besides probably the third game at home when that was just a little suspicious game, but besides that, like every other game was insane, like abs like to the very end. So I was like, I know we talked about it, like you're very happy you were able to experience that, but even for myself, like my mom still gets chills about it, my family does, I do. So yeah, like I said, very blessed to be able to be a part of that. Just unfortunately did not win. So
No, it was the only thing we were missing. But you know what? That was a spectacular year. And truthfully, Jadon, it was an awesome experience for myself. I was alive for the Memorial Cup, but I was so young. I don't really remember that. So that was really the first year when I really got to realize, you know what? This is the Vancouver Giants. This is a team that I cheer for. This is my team. And you were certainly a big part of that. You did well, though, finishing off the regular season, Jadon. 28 points, 32 games. And then you guys went on that run playing Seattle in 6 games. 6 goals for you in 6 games, Jadon. You pretty much lit it up in that first round series. What do you remember against Seattle?
yeah, well, for myself, it was that first round was the biggest round for myself, not because of my performance, just I just knew going into it. Like I said, I don't know how many playoff games I had going into that year, but I finished with, I think we said 53 or whatever it is, whatever the number is. But I was brought into Vancouver for a reason. I was brought in to give that mature look and that playoff um, performance. I was able to, like I said, I was very fortunate with Lethbridge to go to the conference finals both years. So I had a lot of experience, and that's why Dicker, Huey, Barkley brought me in. So, and just for myself being in playoffs, I always felt that the first round is the hardest round to get out of. And especially for the Giants' history, we hadn't made it in 12 years, I believe. So I just knew from, like, for our team, it wasn't going to be easy, especially being against Seattle. They were a very physical, strong, mature team. And I don't know, I was very blessed to be able to have the performance each game that I did. Obviously, yeah, like things were just clicking for myself. I was able to bring my experience, and my experience was able to show. And like I said, I do think that was probably one of, besides the PA, obviously, but that was for sure the hardest matchup that we had and getting out of, because it definitely was not easy. Um, but yeah, just the experience I had, I just knew that I was going to have to. I wanted that series to be the series that I was able to bring my experience and just really show the team what it can take and what we have in us and stuff like that. So
No, awesome. And, you know, you were a big part of that playoff run. And there's certain moments in each round that sort of stick out to me. And I want to bring them up with you and just get your first thoughts on them. So we sort of brushed up on Seattle, but I want to talk about the second round against Victoria. You swept Victoria against a spectacular goaltender. Your thoughts on that second round series?
yeah, it was a really good series for us, just because we had certain guys, including myself, that stepped up in Seattle. And then if you kind of look, it kind of switched. Then a lot of different players were able to step up for us in against Victoria, and especially against Outhouse. He was one of the top goalies at the time. Luckily we had Davis Kosh too to really help us out there. But Yeah, it was like I said, like a different guys were able to step up. It was a very interesting battle. That one we battled with him all year. We couldn't stand Victoria. I know our fans couldn't either. It was definitely a series we wanted to beat them, but we wanted to hurt them at the end of the day. I won't ever forget Dicker when we swept them, and I think the fans were probably heckling him and Huey, and I think all you see in the cameras is Huey sprint to the hall in the back, sprint back, just going crazy. And then Dicker turning around and just swearing at all the fans and yelling at all the fans, kind of just putting it in their faces. And that was both of them. Like Dicker just had such passion for the game and passion for us. And just same as Huey, he had the passion that they had for us was incredible. And they cared so much for us. And yeah, that series, it was definitely, like you said, Outhouse definitely helped out Victoria. I know we won in 4 games, but he even for me, I like you said, I went 6 games, 6 goals, and then I don't even know if I had a lot of chances in that series, but he kind of nipped me in the butt, and he was able to stop me and kind of slow me down, which very upset about that one. But like I said, if I wasn't stepping up, we had so many other guys that carried us to that series, and like you said, it really didn't matter who was going and who wasn't because we were able to beat them in 4. So that was yeah, like I said, our team was so deep. So we were very that was a really good series as well.
No, it certainly was. Another great series, Spokane Chiefs, game 2, round 3, 4 goals. What do you remember about that?
Game 2. Can you say that again? Actually.
Game number 2, round number 3 at the Langley Event Center, 4 goals in a matter of minutes for the Vancouver Chiefs.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I just said something. I have to just refresh my brain. I remember. Yeah, that was wild. I remember Jared got our captain got the last one of the back to back or whatever. Yeah, it was like I said, we just had so many cool moments in the LEC. That was definitely one of them because how the game was going. And then it just kind of showed the team we were and the tenacity we had. And yeah, I just remember just goal. I don't even know if I saw all of them. I think I was on the bench, probably just kind of trying to catch my breath from my past shift. And then just our goal horn was so loud and it was so fun that just goal after goal. And then I just remember Jared solidifying his goal. I think that his photo is pretty popular with the flyby when he was scoring. But that was another really interesting series. I don't think many people had us winning that one. I really do not know why. Spokane was a very good team. Their power play was unbelievable that year. I think that was a big reason probably why they wanted Spokane to go ahead. And I just remember Bailey Birkin, their goalie, is a really good friend of mine just from childhood and everything else. And I think he had an interview before the series started, and I think he kind of didn't give us the respect that we earned in a sense. And he said a few things in his interview, and I remember Dicker, and I think the coach did as well. And I remember Dicker being our Dicker. He took the quotes that they had, put it in our dressing room, and I think after that we just said, "There's no way we're losing to them." And yeah, I remember that game. We didn't have any goals, and I remember yelling at Birkin from the bench, being like, "We're coming for you! Like, watch out!" Blah blah blah. And then, funny enough, we got those goals back to back to back. And yeah, it was like I said, it was the energy just that created for even for us and then just our fans. It was. I guess I can't imagine being in the stands for that one because that would have been really cool.
The last highlight I'm going to bring up for you from that run, the dying seconds of game 5 against the Prince Albert Raiders. You're on the ice for that final shift, trying to keep that puck out of your own zone, trying to prevent them from getting shots on goal. The dying seconds that ultimately pushes Vancouver to another game.
Yeah, that it was a just like that series in general was just that whirlwind kind of thing, just because you had the first two in PA that we went hand in hand with him, and then we came back and again we went down obviously, and then it was just we weren't going to like we couldn't lose in a sense. Um, and yeah, like just that that game was very significant for us, and yeah, like I said, I was on the ice, so it's just like it's very hard to explain just those moments, and especially in playoffs, and you're in the like every game in the finals, especially, it just every moment, every shift is so important, and your adrenaline is constantly going, um, and not anxiety, but just like that, just that feeling is always just like I said, I guess you just call it the adrenaline. It's just always going through your body. And it's just like it's very hard to describe what you're feeling in those moments. And you're so determined just to score a goal, just to be the guy that helps out your team. So yeah, that game was very, very important for us. And yeah, like the dying seconds, yeah, like it was really cool to be a part of.
Well, a crazy long story to talk about those finals, just like it is to talk about your final year in the Western Hockey League. But none of that happens. None of those traits happen there, Jadon. Moose Jaw, Kelowna, Tri-City, without Vancouver releasing you. And it was tough for me to find out you were traded, Jadon. Obviously, you're one of my all-time favorites. And when you look at some of the guys that they kept instead of you, I still boggles my mind that you were one of the guys that were on the outs there. But what was it like for you to find out you were leaving Vancouver?
Yeah, it was, I think like I mentioned at the very start, it was a very difficult few years for me, especially 18 and 19, just because it was very hard for me to get over the leaving Lethbridge in the first place. Like I said, not just because your people don't really like it's really hard for outsiders to understand what you go through when you're in junior. Um, the bonds that you make being and you're so like people think, oh, like just get over it, like it's just a team, it's just hockey. But like no, you're there 24/7 at the rink. You create your family essentially. And especially just how far we went, and like I said, you're with each other every day, all day. And then just for that accident to happen to those three teammates of mine, and then them almost losing their lives, it just that it hurt more just leaving that organization. And like I said, you're so young, you don't really know how to handle that kind of stuff. Um, so, and like I said, I just never would have thought I got traded because like that was my home essentially. I was there since I was 14, and I was doing well. So I just a very big, not a bad blind side, but just I was very blindsided. So getting over that was very hard. And then going to Regina, being there for a few months, not even, and then just not a good situation. But then doing my best to stay just because you want to prove everybody you can do it. And then getting traded from that, and then not even really having time to process leaving Lethbridge, leaving Regina, going to Vancouver, being so grateful. But at the same time, there's a mental side to everything that people don't see. So it took me, it was very hard. I was so happy I was in Vancouver and everything like that. And I was so blessed to be a part of what we went through. But mentally, it was very, I guess you could say exhausting just because like you said, the day I got traded, I didn't even get time to process everything. I didn't even get time to process that I was playing my teammates in Lethbridge that day, and you just jump right into a game. And even Regina, I remember when I got traded to Regina, it was 2 weeks I went on the road. I didn't even meet my billets for 2 weeks. You're just playing, 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 and then obviously Vancouver getting to that. Um, it was really unfortunate. It was really a sad situation. I was very hurt that I had to leave, but you kind of know it at the same time going into it, especially being traded to a team. You're not a part of their plan at the very start. You're just kind of a piece, and I was a piece. And unfortunately, we had 9 20-year-olds, and you can only have three. So the odds of me that I was gonna stay were very low, just because you had like Milos was there for a long time. He was an amazing player. Tendick was an amazing goalie. Um, and then Plouffe, he was there ever since he was 16 too. So it was you kind of you want to prove and you want to try to like stay. I made sure I tried my best to be able to stay and stay with Vancouver because I did not want to leave.
Certainly, you know what, you didn't want to leave Vancouver, but
Yeah.
while you were there, you had a great time, and I know the fans did as well, Jadon. We're sort of running out of time with this, but I
Oh
really do
yeah, no.
appreciate you taking the time to jump on with me, to do this with me. It means a lot to me, Jadon. And thanks so much for doing this again. And then hopefully you can get me on the show, and I can get you on the show more times in the future.
Yes, of course. I thank you so much for bringing me on this podcast. But honestly, for one, just allow me to go back through the memories because, like I said, I haven't thought about that stuff in so long. So I appreciate you bringing up all those great memories that I was able to create. I miss Vancouver. I appreciate you.
All right, that was Jadon Joseph, one of the former players, former alumnus for the Vancouver Giants. And it was a pleasure to have him on the show and a pleasure to be bringing my past guests to you. Thank you so very much for tuning in. It's been an enjoyable ride since I first dropped the first podcast, May 27th, with Dan O'Connor, to the number of guests that have taken the time to jump on the show. It's been awesome for myself as a big fan of the Giants to be able to speak with them, to get them to share some of their time with myself so that I can bring them to you and you can take a look at them. Thank you for all the positive feedback, for all the words of encouragement. Truly does not go unnoticed. It means a lot to me. We're going to take a break for the summer. That's the first 10 episodes of the Giants Coverage Podcast, but we've got some big news coming up later on this month, so stay tuned for that. And we'll be back. We'll be back in September, folks. We're not going to go away. We're not going to go away, that's for sure, after such an enjoyable ride. But thank you so very much for tuning in for those first 10 episodes. Keep your eyes tuned and locked in for some big news coming in August. Go Giants, go, and I'll talk to you again in September.
The Giants Coverage Podcast. Coverage with heart.